And this week marks 1 year since a Fulton Independent Assisted Living Facility reported Carl debrodie missing. A week later, police found the developmentally disabled man's body encased in concrete in a nearby storage facility. Tonight in a KRCG 13 special report, Elizabeth Hoffman explains how the mystery surrounding his death has added to the frustration in finding out how he died.
His name is known throughout Missouri and even across the country. Carl debrodie's death has led to a year-long investigation, yet how he died and who is responsible remains a mystery. Long before his death, the blonde-haired boy brought joy into many lives. Mary Martin will never forget the first time she saw Carl.
There was a little boy walking down the sidewalk with a broken arm and bottleneck glasses. And he just looked up at me and just waved. He was so happy.
Because of his disabilities, Carl required special care. Mary welcomed that challenge, and she became Carl's guardian. From the time he was 11 years old to age 21, Carl lived with Mary and her family in Jefferson City.
This is the gingerbread he made at school.
One of her fondest memories of Carl was when he got a horse.
He loved that horse.
She says his actions would always outshine his disabilities.
He's, smiling and waving, and he's got all these disabilities.
Now she wants to make sure whoever is responsible for his death is held accountable.
The arrest, which has taken way too long, I understand it's a deep case. But oh my gosh, it's just, I don't know, it's very frustrating.
Mary is not alone in her frustrations. Investigators at the federal, state, and local level have been working nonstop on the case. Fulton Police Chief Steve Myers has spent many hours poring over records.
You get emotionally attached to a lot of different kinds of cases, but this one probably more so than some of the others.
The FBI, Highway Patrol, and Callaway County Sheriff's Office have all been a part of the investigation. Callaway County Prosecutor Chris Wilson says the county investigation was complete in October, but federal prosecutors requested to review the case to consider charges. The owner of the facility at the time of Carl's disappearance has denied accusations that they are to blame for his death. Yet no one has been arrested.
It's been very difficult for all the people that have been involved with the investigation, locally especially.
Chief Myers says a conclusion is expected in the very near future.
We want to make sure that we get as much prosecution as possible.
And while she awaits that prosecution, Mary is hopeful the death of Carl will create an awareness for others.
If one person has their eyes open in a community, an awareness that people are being treated rudely, they're a money-making object, and does something.
A needed protection for those who can't protect themselves. In Fulton, Elizabeth Hoffman, KRCG 13.
For more complete coverage of the case and all the developments over the past year, you can find this story on our website, krcgtv.com.
We are following new developments tonight as prosecutors have their first guilty plea in the Carl debrodie case.
Debrodie was a special needs patient in Fulton found dead last year in a storage locker. Today, a nurse who claimed she provided health care services for Debrodie is pleading guilty in federal court to one count of health care fraud. United States Attorney Timothy Garrison says 49-year-old Melissa Denise DeLapp of Columbia was paid $2,500 by Medicaid to provide care for Debrodie and 3 other patients. Garrison says DeLapp completed and signed affidavits falsely claiming she reported face-to-face assessments of Debrodie from the time of Debrodie's death until shortly before his body was discovered. DeLapp must pay more than $100,000 in restitution and surrender her nursing license. That's a certification that she cannot seek anywhere again in the United States. Settlement has been reached and is awaiting a judge's approval in the wrongful death lawsuit of Carl Debrodie. Debrodie was a developmentally disabled man living in a state-supervised group home. Authorities found his body encased in concrete in April of 2017. KRCG 13's Kyrian Lee joins us live from the newsroom to tell us how all parties came to an agreement.
Yes, I spoke to the debrodie family attorney Rudy Veit, who says both parties reached a settlement on Tuesday evening. He says an undisclosed amount will go to debrodie's mother, Carolyn Summers. He says the settlement will be enough to allow Summers to live comfortably, depending on her lifestyle. He says it is a structured settlement, so if approved, it will not be given to her all at once. Veit says Summers discussed giving money to organizations who help the disabled. He says it will help eliminate some of the stress for Summers if legal action continues.
It is a horrible amount of stress on someone of her age, and that had the fear that someday they're going to have to go in court and testify in front of everybody about this horrible incident and what it was like a week looking while you're waiting for them to tell you whether or not they found your child dead or alive.
The parties responsible for paying the settlement is confidential at this time. At 6, we'll hear more from Veit and Summers' plans for the settlement if approved. Reporting live in the newsroom, Kyrian Lee, KRCG 13.